Hello and welcome to the first in this series of working from home and keeping our businesses running. So this series is around creating the right facilitation space at home so that we can keep collaborating, keep connecting, and making sure that we've got enough tooling to enable us to work. So what I want to focus on in each one of these sessions is first of all having a look at a bit of tooling and setup and the environment. And then I want to have a look at the presence that we have online, specifically around making sure that our business can keep running, we can keep getting work done, and that we get through these difficult times. So first of all, a little bit about the environment. Now, you might notice that there's light shining all over me, not brilliant. So what we can do is we want to make sure that our setup is great. And I've got my child, Chester, here to help me. If you would like to sort the lights out, that'd be fantastic. So a bit better environment. So the other thing is that we're all going to be working from home for a while and children are off school, which means that our families are going to be around and that normally we present this very professional face. We've got to be, everywhere's quiet and it's all perfectly brilliant. Well, a lot of us are not going to be able to create that for very long, especially if you've got children. So don't be too worried if a friendly face pops up every now and again. And this is my son, Thomas. So he's been helping me present and prepare all this area. So thank you very much. So we're going to have to get used to a little bit more of bringing our whole lives into work. So have a look around, make sure there's nothing weird that you don't want everyone to see in the background. Make sure that you've got your environment set up. So the first thing we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about the most basic thing of all, seeing as this is the first session. And we're going to have a look around Zoom. So we use Zoom at AWA to do all of our video conferences. We talk to each other, we do webinars, we do our training, and it's all around this basic tool, Zoom. So let's have a little look around some of the things which, thank you, Thomas, with the banging. Keeping a good environment going is just the most important thing. So here we go with some of the basic Zoom controls. So what I've done is I created a little PowerPoint here so that we can see the Zoom controls. And you'll see that at the top of the bar, you can go down and there's preferences. So I use a Mac. I ditched Windows a long time ago for its unreliability and its conflicts that it has. So using Mac, way more reliable in my opinion. Clicking on the preferences, we get this preference box up. So there is if you want to teach someone Zoom, then you'll need to enable a setting to allow Zoom to see its own controls. So we can do that. So if I put this on here, you should now be able to see these basic Zoom controls. So the ones that I want to show you are in the general box. And what we want to have a look down is this is a really useful thing to click on. Automatically copy invitation URL once the meeting starts. This means that as soon as Zoom starts, into your clipboard will be the Zoom URL. So then you can Slack, text, email the meeting to others. Very quick way of getting everybody together and can be useful for impromptu meetings. So definitely want to check there. Then if we come down here to the video section, there's a couple of things in here. One is touch up my appearance. So if you're like me and have various wrinkles and various things as you're getting older, then touch up my appearance is fantastic. It can iron out things. It has an ever so soft blur on the features and can make you look a lot better. So that's always a good one to check in there. And what else have we got in here? That's probably all from here. But what I do want to do, if I go back to general, you'll see down here, this view more settings. And this is really key because this is where you'll find a lot of the more advanced and things that I want to talk to. So if we click on view more settings, then what we'll get is a web page. So you probably need to log in if you haven't already. And so we're going to have a look at this. So I'll move this over. We'll have a look at the web page here. And you'll see there's a whole bunch of settings here, and we'll work our way down. I'm not going to go through every one. I'm just going to highlight some of the really important things for hosting impromptu meetings, for doing training and doing webinars. So the main thing is that we want our productivity and our connection to be as interactive and as fun as possible. People generally switch off if they're doing the same thing for more than about 15 minutes. So we won't want big long lectures, we don't want long talks. We want to try and keep things as simple as possible and as short as possible, and change the environment quite a bit. So these are some of the tools which I want to show you to enable that interactivity. So if we have a look down here, then what we've got is, if we skim down to some of the interesting things that I think are worth having a look at, then all of this stuff, yeah, fine. And then we get down to chat. So chat is really important to enable chat. And what we want is we want people to be able to communicate without having to talk so much. Because if lots of people are talking and asking questions, it can get very distracting. So if we have chat, this is a way to have two streams going on. You have people talking, the main dialogue, and then chat, you can ask underlying questions. Definitely good in a webinar, very good in training. Can also be useful for people to take notes and bring out key things in meetings as well. So private chat is okay because people can talk to each other. Auto-saving chats. Now this is something that's not on by default. So we use chat quite a lot in AWA meetings, and what we find is that at the end of the meeting, we finish the meeting, we turn Zoom off and the chat's gone. We've lost all that information. So if you click on this and change auto-saving chats to on, then you don't have to worry about forgetting. It'll automatically save it to the host's computer, and then they can send it around. So, so co-hosting is another really important function. So we want to be able to assign a co-host, because a co-host can do some of the admin things as well. So when you've got two people presenting, Thomas, please, can you stop kicking? Okay, thank you. So when we have the co-hosts, then they can also help us manage the session. So typically, whenever we do presentations, we do webinars, we do training, at AWA, we always have two people. One person can do the controls for Zoom, do the controls for the other tools, one person can present, and perhaps we can swap backwards and forwards to make it more interesting for the participants. So you must turn co-hosting on, otherwise that won't be available to you. You have to do that before the call starts, otherwise you won't be able to turn it on during the call. It's the same with polling. Polling is a great way to get information from your participants about certain questions and things. It could be how well is this meeting going, or about the topic or the content that you're talking around. And you can set up those polls and ask for that information without having to have massive amounts of dialogue, which can get confusing and lengthy. So we want to maximize the time that we've got on the content, so that we're not rambling and talking and wasting that time, because that's very easy to waste time on virtual calls. So turn that on. I don't generally use the put attendees on hold, but you can do that. It can be useful if you have webinars and things and you want to remove people or whatever, but generally don't use that. Screen sharing, always turn that on, allow all participants to screen share. That's fine. Whiteboard, don't generally use it, got it turned on there. All of that's fine. Breakout rooms. So this is another key feature of Zoom, and really one of the main reasons for using it, in my opinion, as well as the excellent bandwidth compression, is that what we want to do often is that we want to, especially with AWA, we do large scale things. So typically we might have 30 people on a call, sometimes more, and you can't have massive group discussions. Not like in a training room where you can have a general group discussion. It's much harder online. So what we can do is we can break people up into breakout rooms so that different participants can go in, have discussions, and then pull them back into the main room again. And as a host, we can choose, or as a co-host, we can choose which people go into what rooms. You can do it randomly so that Zoom chooses for you. You can tell how many rooms that you want, and then it will go and put them randomly. Or you can actually manually put in each person into a room, which is quite good if you want to keep the same groups each time. And you have to enable that. And you want to make sure that this little checkbox here is ticked so that you can then, as a host, choose who goes into what room. So this is key. And we'll have a look a bit about breakout rooms and how that works, perhaps in a subsequent video so it doesn't get too long. But breakout rooms, absolute essential feature. Captions and things, don't use that too much. Virtual background, I don't think works very well. You have to have like a kind of a green screen to get that working. Not worth the effort, in my opinion, but if you fancy making everyone think that you're in Hawaii or something, fine. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of the main settings. Yeah, so that's as much as the main settings that I'm going to show. So that's kind of like basics of the tools. We'll have a look at exactly how we do the room setting in the breakout rooms. We'll have a look at that in the next session, and I'll do some screenshots and actually show you moving some people around. I'm on my own at the moment, but next time we do a call, I'll do a little video of that. So the last thing I wanted to show you today was around presence. So one of the key elements that in a training room or in a meeting room or when you're with people face to face, it's very easy to kind of project out. Like as a seasoned trainer and a coach and a facilitator, then I'm very used to kind of feeling what's going on in the room and projecting myself out and kind of feeling like my energy is circling around the room to hold that space for the participants. And this is a really key skill of a facilitator or trainer. Now, when we're working virtually, this kind of sense can be lost. And certainly when I first started working remotely, it was very much me talking into my screen, and the limit of my projection of my energy in the room was very much sort of linked to this sort of window in front of me. However, what I've learned and what I've been experiencing and playing around with is actually when you've got all those people and you can see their faces on Zoom, you can imagine that you're there. And if you project out as though they were in the same space around you, it doesn't matter how far away they are. They can be on the other side of the planet. This projection that's in a meeting room still works. It's still there so that you can hold that space. And that's something which you can only really experience if you play around with it. But the way I do it is I imagine that these people are all in this space in front of me, and I project my energy out just as I would in a room, and I talk to them as though they were there, and it doesn't matter if they're 5,000 miles away, that projection still works. Now, when I train, I actually look to use that projection to change the way that people's states of minds are in the class, to help a receptive state of mind, to help the training and the learning points or the coaching points come across. And what I found is that there's that projection, that change, that state of mind that I produce, whether it's being a calm state of mind, whether it's an energetic state of mind, whatever it is, still works through the virtual medium. And this is something that might not be obvious to you all, but if you play around with it, practice this projection out, it'll work exactly the same way. So that's something which hopefully can be something you can play with, a tip that you can explore. So that's all I'm going to add in for today. I'm going to keep producing these little videos. If you do like this, if you think it's useful, please like this on LinkedIn and on YouTube, because it will give me an idea of whether this is actually worth doing. There's 1,000,001 people at the moment doing all sorts of presentations about how to work online, and I don't want to do this if it's not useful. So please let me know it's useful, and I'll keep on making them. So stay connected and keep talking to those around you. And the last thing that I'm going to add is that if you want to learn more about this, we do offer proper training classes on facilitation where we go way deeper into the tools. You get to play around with it with help. We're in a classroom setting, except it's virtual, and you can actually have a go at doing these tools with people in a safe space. So do have a look at the AWR website for our virtual training and our virtual facilitation. And the very last thing that I'm going to ask you as a request, if you think about where people are and what's going on, the people that are closest to you in your lives right now, then you may be totally fine working from home, but some people are going to feel isolated. Some people aren't going to feel happy. They're going to feel trapped. And all I'm asking is that please reach out to those people who are closest to you and just check in on them. Make sure that they are actually okay, and that a 5-minute call in the day, if you haven't spoken to anyone all day, can make the difference between a very miserable day and a very connected day. So my request to you is find someone, ask them if they're all right, and see what you get back. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thank you.